Hi, my name is Myra, and I've been a natural dyer for almost 20 years. I love sharing my experiences with you. So today we're going to do another solar dye, this time dyeing silk with another common garden flower. So let's get to it. In my previous video, I showed you how to solar dye wool, and actually the sweater that I'm wearing today was knit with solar dyed wool, which I actually talk more about over on my Patreon. So if you want to know how I made this wool specifically, head on over there. But not everyone is a knitter or a crocheter or someone who likes doing things with wool fiber. So that's why I really love this idea of dyeing silk with a solar dye, because silk can be a project for anyone. All you need is a silk scarf and dye it in your jar and you are done. And another reason silk is so great is that, like wool, silk is a protein fiber. It's an animal fiber, and natural dyes have an affinity towards animal fibers. They just absorb better into an animal fiber than they do like with the cellulose fibers. So they are a great match together. But before we dye, we must mordant. So if you are totally new to mordanting, I have already done 2 whole videos all about the subject, and I will put the links to both of those down in the description below. Mordanting silk is very easy. Today we're going to be using something called aluminum sulfide, and this is basically a metallic salt that will coat the fiber before the dye coats the fiber. And the reason we do this is because natural dyes really like this metallic salt, and because they like it, they are going to bond more frequently with the fiber, and the bonds are going to be tighter or stronger, and that means the color is going to either be brighter or darker, and more importantly, it is going to last longer. So let's get to mordanting. So these are the supplies that we need to do our mordant. Now, before we go any further, all the things that we're using today, we only use for natural dyes. You're not mixing in your kitchen bowls and your kitchen pots with the stuff that you're going to use for your natural dyes. You really have to keep them separate. So everything I'm using today, this is my natural dye supplies. So what are they? Well, first, our mordant. So I'm using aluminum potassium sulfite. This is not sponsored by them. You can buy it all over online. It's quite easy to find. You need your little measuring cup. This is actually a cap from liquid detergent, which works great when you want to measure things. I have my scale. I have my pot of hot water. Now the temperature needs to be between 160, but you don't want it to be boiling. So 160, but under, I think boiling is 200. You want it to be in that sweet spot, because you don't want it to be not hot enough, but you don't want it to be boiling water, because boiling water can actually affect the luster of some of the different types of silk. So, and then I have my silk, and this has already been pre-washed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out a certain amount of mordant and add it into my hot water. So I have a silk scarf that weighs 15 grams. Now the amount of mordant is going to be between 10 to 20% of the weight of your fiber. So a really easy way to think of it is, if you have 100 grams of fiber, you would need 10 grams of mordant if you were doing 10%, right? So, and that's kind of why I like using grams, because it makes percentages just so easy. So today I have 15 grams of silk, and I like to do about 15%. So I'm going to measure out, let's see, 15 grams would be 1.5 grams for 10%, 3 grams for 20%. So I'm just going to say 2 grams and call it good enough. Oops, let's zero it out. And then carefully pour pour out your mordant. Oop, that's a chunk. That is 4 grams because this chunk weighs too much. Let's just scooch. Okay, let's just do this again because now I gotta zero it out. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, 0. When you're doing just one little scarf like this, oh, 2 grams, perfect. You really don't need a lot, but you're welcome to do much larger pieces of silk, multiple scarves, etc. Okay, so I have my mordant. I'm gonna sprinkle it into my hot water, take my dye spoon, and I'm just gonna stir it up until the mordant is completely dissolved in the water. All right, that looks good to me. Now I have my silk, which is wet, and I already washed it. And I'm going to very gently wring out some of the water. With silk, when it's wet, it can lose a little bit of the elasticity of the fibers, so you just want to be a little gentle with it. I'm going to try to open it up as much as I can. The goal is for the alum to coat the fiber evenly. So you want enough water to be in this pot for your silk to move around. Okay, I've got it in here. Now I'm done. That's literally it. All I have to do is keep this soaking for a minimum of an hour. Every once in a while, give it a little stir just to keep the solution moving, just to make sure it's doing a good job coating it. And then when I'm ready to dye, it's ready for me to use. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move this off. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna move this over here, and then we're going to get to the fun part, which is the dyeing. Okay, let's get to the fun part. Now, this solar dye is just so easy. You don't need very many things. First, you need a very large jar with a lid, and it needs to be able to hold very hot water. That's why I love these gigantic ball canning jars. You need your flowers. So today we're going to use coreopsis flowers, which I have here. It's a wonderful dye flower that, well, you'll see what color it makes. And I actually even have a little jar of dried coreopsis. We have our scale for measuring. I like to use about an equal amount of flour to fiber, but if you really want to go for it and double the amount of flowers, I say do it. So I have my scale, I have my little measuring cup again, and I have my hot water. So all we need to do is start collecting our flowers, which I'm going to do just right here from the plants that I have. So I've got my scale on. Let's make sure it's zeroed out. Okay. And I'm just going to pick the flowers right off. Now this works just as well with dried flowers. And so all I need to do is measure how many that I need. So I'm going to put them in my little cup here. And since I have a 15-gram scarf, I'm going to use an equal weight of flowers. So it should be about 15 grams of flowers. 7, 14. Let's just add a couple more for good luck. I'm going to leave a couple for the bees. There will be more. Okay, this is a little bit more than, it's 17. You know what? More is better. Perfect. So I have my flowers. Now all I need to do is take my flowers and I'm going to put them in my very large glass jar. You want it to be something that can hold very high heat. That's why I like these kind of classic canning jars. And then after I put these in here, I'm going to put my water, which was just going, which will be going again soon. Oopsies. Oops. And now I take my water, I'm going to pour my water into the jar, and we are going to watch magic happen. Perfect. Thank you very much for being done just on time. You can see the dye is immediately releasing from these little flowers to make the most incredible orange color. It's just like, how can you not want to do a project like this? This is perfect. I love this. This is my favorite flowers. And also, it smells so good and it reminds me of summer. Okay, now you're going to take your lid and you're going to put your lid on nice and tight. Now, if you watched my other video, you might be wondering, wait, you forgot to add your fiber, because when I do wool, I just add it straight in, but we're doing silk. And I want to be a little bit more cautious with the flowers directly pressing up against that silk fiber, because I don't want it to be totally uneven. I mean, so let's step back and realize that we are dyeing silk in a jar. So it is not going to be perfectly even like something you would buy from a store, because we are working with nature and nature isn't perfect. And so it's going to be beautiful, but it's not going to be perfect. And that's what we want. But I also don't necessarily want splotches of color on the silk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for an hour so that most of the dye, if not all of it, is going to seep out into the water. And then I'm going to strain my flowers. And by the time that this is done, my mordanted fiber will be done. So we can put it all together and have a little bit more fun finishing up this project. So I will see you in an hour. Hello everyone, so it's been an hour. So let's take our flowers and I'm going to pour them through this strainer and into this pot. Now, all the stuff I use for dyeing, I find at thrift stores, or they are given to me. Thank you, Mom. So, before I do, I'm going to put on gloves because this is very hot. Because these glass jars are excellent at containing the heat, which is why we use them. Okay, now let's pour this in. Oh, it's pouring out the side. That's okay. Pour it in carefully and not as fast as I just did. I could tell it was pouring out the side because I felt dripping on my toes. Okay, so now I have the flowers strained out. I mean, this really is an optional step. You don't have to strain out the flowers. You will just risk having a little bit of irregularity in your finished scarf. Okay, carefully, oh God, carefully pour. Okay. It's the riskiest part of the entire process. Here, let's just put this over here. Okay, so now I have my dye and I have my scarf right here, which has been sitting in our mordant water this whole time. So as soon as it's done with its mordant, it's ready to go right on in. I'm going to gently squeeze out the excess mordant. And I'm going to add it right into our jar, opening it up just a little bit more to help it out to dye evenly. I don't know how easy this is going to be. "10 hours later, she was still opening up her scarf so that it would dye evenly." Okay. Okay, just get in there. Okay, here we go. I mean, you can see it kind of folds up again. I don't know if there's a point to doing that, but I just like to give it every little bit of help that I can. So we're going to add this scarf into our jar, opening it up. And since I have gloves on, I'm just gonna stick my hand all the way in there, scooch it around a little bit, and give it some time to really absorb that dye. I mean, immediately you can see that it's starting to go yellow, but we want it to go orange. So we're going to keep this in the sun for a few days to give that scarf plenty of time to absorb all of the dye. Of course, making sure that our lid is on tight so we can contain as much of the heat as possible. Now, while it's sitting out in the heat, you can always, mix it up a little bit just to kind of help the dye get in the little nooks and crannies to help it dye evenly. Okay, so we are done. Can I do this without gloves? No. We are done for now. I'm going to move this out into the sun, and I will see you in a couple of days. Hello, everyone. It's been 2 days. I'm very ready to see how this is going to look because I can already see how this is going to look, and it is just so gorgeous. It is so gorgeous. Let me very carefully squeeze out the excess dye. Careful, careful. Okay, so this orange, this is the color you would expect from this flower. It's just so bright and cheerful and perfect for summer. And you can see how it dyes silk beautifully. And you're literally done at this point. You just need to give it a quick rinse, dry it, and you're ready to wear it. And if for some reason you can't find these flowers, try your marigolds, which are sold everywhere. This will also give you a really bright, beautiful yellow dye. So I really hope you give this a try. And if you do, please let me know. Until next time. If you would like to watch an extended version of this video, including a little side project, come on over to my Patreon. I post over there weekly, including lots of little exclusive dye videos, projects that I'm working on, and then my other patrons share what they're working on too. Your support over there helps me continue to share what I love to do with all of you over here. So thanks again for watching.